You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weird Science Marvel Comics Podcast, episode 74. That is the legacy number, 574. I'm here with my man, Matt. What up, Matt?
What up?
What is up is that we ended up, I put the last episode on YouTube, and it got a lot of people involved, and actually put both the Marvel and DC episodes up. And I think a lot of people thought that we went on hiatus, because I used to put them up, quite regularly every week. And I thought, they're longer things and I'll cut them up the videos. But I just decided last week, I'll just start putting up the main shows.
Yeah, why not?
And I'm telling you, especially the DC one, people are like, oh, man, it's great that you're going back to doing podcasts. I'm like, it's like, don't call it a comeback, like LL.
Everyone loves a good hiatus, though. I mean,
yeah. And Luke Hollywood, he loves it. He's doing another one now. I haven't heard from him in 2 weeks. But with all that, I'm going to probably start putting up the episodes up on YouTube. So if you're watching it on YouTube, hello. And I ended up talking about some things. But I do want to talk to some people, first off, who had been watching some of our videos, not just the full podcast, people who yelled at us about The Ultimates by Dennis Kemp being a good book. I don't even know why I'm starting with this exactly, but they were completely wrong. We were right, and they could suck it. That's what I want to say, because this week, there's not a lot of Marvel books out. And the idea of what we were going to do, me and you, if people weren't aware, I mean, you want to talk a hiatus. We had a Star Wars comics podcast at one point. At one point, we didn't really even have the Marvel podcast went on a hiatus. Jason ended up doing with Ruben the X-Men stuff. Me and you were doing the Star Wars stuff. And then in the meantime, that got kind of crappy. And we ended up, and it was the Dark Droids that ended up really stopping our love of the Star Wars comics. And then we just decided to do
it's
the Marvel podcast.
been about over a year, definitely.
Yeah. And we were, at one point, we were really into it. We really liked the books. And then certain books were going a little wonky.
Events.
It was events. And when you ended up having the War of the Bounty Hunters event, they really were bragging about it being the biggest crossover event in Star Wars comic history, which it was. It killed us. And then when we were done that,
Dark
never
Droids
really
or something?
we never got our momentum back. And then when Dark Droids started, we just weren't into it. And we ended up
Crimson Reign.
You ended up, I didn't even read the ending of a lot of the books that we had spent all that time.
I read them. I couldn't tell you one thing they talked about.
Yeah. But again, this week, why I bring up both the Ultimates and Star Wars is not a lot of books out. One of the things that we would maybe do would be the Ultimates. We didn't do the last issue. I think we did the issue before that. But I got so mad, the last Ultimates one that we did, that I just said, I'm not dealing with it anymore. I'm not going to read it. It's terrible. In the meantime, we didn't talk about it. I did read the last issue, terrible. And then this issue that is out this week is just, it's not good. So again, this is almost like a PSA type of thing for me to just tell everybody. If you were some of the people who yelled at us for not liking the Ultimates, suck it. That's what I want to say. That's all. That's it there. And they could take it. And again, if they do like it, that's up to them. But boy, that book is rough. That book is rough. I've said all along, I said to you today, allegedly seems like it's just Dennis Kemp gets high as a kite and then thinks everything that comes out of his brain is solid gold. And it's tin. It's not gold. But here we are to talk the book that we're going to talk about. And it's a weird one. It's a Star Wars Legacy of Vader. And the funny thing is, it feels like what I thought, and even last week, there was a Star Wars book. And I'll tell everybody, not that I think Alex Segura is going to do a good job. I'm worried about it. But if the Star Wars books come back, when they do, and they're good, I don't think we'll have a standalone Star Wars comics podcast, but we'll certainly talk about them on the show. And what it does give us is wiggle room, where if it does end up, say they have a Luke book, we could always just do the books we like. We could follow that. Like when we were doing the Star Wars stuff, we end up where the Afra book, we liked it for a while.
And then it got bad.
And then it got really wonky. And the worst part of it, I think that where we saw the writing on the wall is the Afra book started getting bad. And the entire line was starting to go with things directly just from Afra to go. But the Bounty Hunters book we liked almost through the whole deal. So if we end up having, and we like the Star Wars main book enough and the Darth Vader book. But in the meantime, again, if something comes out that we like, we could just follow those and we'll have them on this show. I don't think we're going to do a standalone show. But again, if you're not aware, Alex Segura is going to be the head writer. And I don't know, whoever's been reading the recent stuff, that's that like bridge. It's not good. No. It's not good at all. It doesn't feel like it matters. Doesn't feel like it has any weight to it in my mind.
It's this character's yelling stuff out.
Yeah, that's the deal. And when he did have his announcement, he said in the announcement, hey, we're going to do some things. I hope people don't get upset at the chant. Like, come on now. And then, so with all of that, this book comes out. Last week we had the book with Jason Aaron and Kieran Gillen and
it was like a best of the last 10 years. Yeah, it was a best of.
And I didn't know what it was going on. I didn't know what it was. But if you haven't read it, the Jason Aaron story I thought was pretty good with the Scar Squad, that sort of deal. But here, this is a Kylo Ren book. And we decided to do it. Then I read it. I just don't get it. I don't know why in between this. Just get to the new books. And everybody that I talked to, or even when I had announcements of things on YouTube, the idea that they want to see what the next era is going to be and how they're going to work it. And are we going to go just, hey, we're going to set up the movies and whatnot. I just hope they do things completely different. I kind of like what was the old, the universe, the expanded universe that they had with the twins and things like that. But I don't think we're going to ever get that stuff again.
Yeah, but, I mean, like, so you're talking about like the older stuff, like before Marvel got a hold of it?
When you had before that with the books and things
Dark
like that
Horse
and how they ended
else.
up. Yeah, I like that expanded universe where we had the stuff after the Return of the Jedi.
The issue with Marvel is they say anything that's in the comics is in canon.
Yeah,
so it's
and that's the thing with that. When they got it, they took away all that expanded universe to piss people off.
And then the issue. The issue is called Star Wars Legacy of Vader. That's the thing. And then you have the Reign of Kylo Ren. Do you think it's going to be an ongoing where they do different characters in it?
No, I think it's just supposed to be Kylo learning more about Darth Vader. That's the way I saw it from the solicits, because in that, where I think that you get a scavenger hunt. By the end of this, you have Kylo meeting up with that monstrosity of Mustafar that says, I can teach you what Vader was all about. He didn't forget the past, and that's all we're going to do. It seems like we're going to fill in blanks of a character that, unfortunately for me, I don't care about. I really don't like Kylo much.
It's tough to like him.
And again, if you like the sequels, then all the power to you. Again, just like that awful Ultimates book that can suck it. The idea of the sequels, I just didn't like them. I did like the whole Force Awakens, but even then, going back and watching it, there's not much to it except like, kind of like you said, even with the book last week, it's like a greatest hits. Let's do New Hope again. Let's kind of tie in all the things, but at least it had something. And then I thought the next two movies would expand and give it. When we got to Last Jedi, I was done. It ended up, and people, one time I said this and somebody yelled at me that I was being so dramatic, but it killed my love of Star Wars. It really did. I was done. I haven't seen the, Rise of Skywalker nonsense.
You watched a couple of the shows. You watched the...
I did watch the first season of the...
Didn't you watch Boba Fett, or you watched...
No, I didn't watch Boba Fett. I had no interest by then. I ended up watching one...
Obi-Wan.
No, I did watch
it. Yeah, with the little girl. With the little girl.
People hated Obi-Wan.
You liked that one, though. I liked it.
Okay, I didn't mind it. But I also ended up watching. I guess I watched the 2 seasons of what's it called?
Mandalorian.
Yeah, Mandalorian.
Well, that's in a different ballpark.
Yeah, and then I bailed from that. But I again, people keep saying I have to watch Andor. I'm done.
You don't like him though.
You'll
never watch
it. The thing is, with the Star Wars, it was the most important thing. In like of pop culture stuff and everything all involved, it's my favorite, most important thing besides the Beatles. That's the other, or music in general. But with that, it's just, I'm done. I ended up not caring anymore after The Last Jedi. But maybe this issue will get me going.
I think
because again, this is more of
very positive about
this is less of a review and us just talking our grievances. What is this? We're airing our grievances here. Yeah, we're having the Festivus. But it is Star Wars Legacy of Vader, #1. It is written by Charles Soule with art by Luke Ross, who was doing the stuff with Charles Soule in the past deal, and even I think was doing some stuff with what's his name on the Vader stuff as
yeah,
well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a lot of Star Wars.
Yeah. Nolan Woodard on colors, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. And it sets up again, I didn't know what we were getting into this. Obviously, this is taking place later on in what we would hopefully get back to when we get the main deal leading possibly to this. But this is taking place after the Battle of Crate, one of the worst battles ever. And, that planet did have salt on it. That was one of the things they had to let us know. And so you end up having Kylo come back. And you end up where, again, if you want to have a who's who of characters that I do not like, you're kind of getting it here. Because I cannot
General Hux?
General Hux might be my least that guy, I just want to slap him.
You don't like his face. I don't either.
I don't
He's
like
annoying.
it. No,
Yeah.
I don't like his face at all.
Nope.
I don't like his haircut. I don't
His
like
accent.
anything about him. His accent, I want to strangle him. So again, the funny thing is that works when he's the villain, obviously. If
he's
you see
bad,
him,
dude, yeah.
And I hated his guts, so that's a good play. But when you have him in a book with Kylo, that you tend to want Kylo to be so over the top that you almost want to have Hux as a sympathetic character. I'm sympathetic to him, and I agree with Kylo. At one point, even Hux says, our family's legacy, he's like, get my family's name out of your mouth. Like, you're awful, and I'll take you down. In that, though, it makes me laugh only because, like, Hux is such a whipping boy here. The idea of the things that Kylo's doing, but we're getting a book here, and I'm like, okay, why would you want to read this? Because by the end, I don't really think we get anything, do we? I mean, at one point, it looks like you're going to do some things, but you're kind of between movies, and so you can't. So you have Hux, and what happens is Kylo comes back, and he says, here, look, Snoke is dead. He was killed by our enemies. He's trying to inspire. The stormtroopers are all like looking at each other like whatever.
But, well, he drops these crates on the ground and just flies the dead Snoke body out.
Yep.
It's just disgusting. And it's like cut in half.
Do you think that what it is beforehand, he's like, I have to get a real big visual. Snoke being dead, but we just had the bottle of crate. So how about I throw crates on the ground? And it's like
symbolism.
Crate. It's so stupid. And then you end up where it opens, like you said, Snoke's body comes and then separates.
Where are his arms? Because his arms got cut off too. Where'd those go?
Cut off. I guess you never found them. I love the idea. It's like, what is this, burial at sea? He just floats out in they just let him float
and isn't
away.
he like 50 feet tall too?
Yeah. Well, I think that was more of the way
that was like a Wizard of Oz thing.
Yeah, it was like stupid. Again, he's lying, and he's just trying to inspire these stormtroopers. In my mind,
he just spaces them.
Yeah, he spaces them. And so this is my question to you. Do you think that the stormtroopers need a lot of inspiration to just go and do bad things? That's all they do. I mean, if they're not that inspired at this point, then what are they doing? So they're all cheering. And they're like, you're going to, I'm Kylo Ren, and I'll bring you glory. And yeah, all right. And then we just have where you get Kylo. And he's seeing, the visions
starts
of
freaking
Luke,
out.
And he's seeing the visions of Rey, and he doesn't really know Rey, and he's wondering who that is. He sees his mom. He sees himself killing Han. All of his dad, by the way. All that stuff going. And the art's okay. But some of the ones, like Luke's face in one of the visions, it gets bad. But you can also collect a lot of rainwater and the ridges in his thing. The guy got old. And then, of course, what happens with Kylo? He gets mad. And then he wrecks things. That's all he does. And that's why I think me and you both don't really like Kylo, because he's a whiny bitch, is what he is all the time. So he's pissed off. He yells for Hux to come in. Like, hey, and I love where the Hux comes in, and everything Hux says is legit. Like, he's like, all right, let's get going. We could get this. We could do that. We're going to get the whole order. Let's get it. And Kylo's like, no. And even that, he's like, our forebears rebuild the Empire. We'll be great. What? You don't talk about my family. Your family are lick spittles. And again, Kylo, stop. And then what ends up, Kylo's like, by the way, and this, it's funny, it's not a Marvel thing, but it reminds me of a DC thing. And if you're a comic book person, maybe this will make sense to you. But what they're doing here, I think there was a meeting when Dan Didio got fired. And they're like, did he have any plans? Because we don't know what we're doing here. He says that, like, hey, with Snoke, what do you have going on? Did he talk like a lot of war stuff? Because he didn't say anything to me, and I really need to know. What happens is Hux starts telling him, and then Kylo's like, shut your mouth. I don't get Kylo. So all this stuff going on. We're at a point where you have the rebellion. They're on the run. Well, on the run, it's more of was a slow speed chase. Is that Battle of Crate? But they're there, and you're kind of going. And instead of going with the info and going with what Huck says of like, hey, we can do this. We organize a strike force. We go in, get the systems there. He's like, no, I want you to build me a throne.
It's like busy work almost.
Yeah, I'm like, really? And in my mind, if this was, and Charles Soule, smart guy, lawyer, all that, if this was something, first off, it also, by this point, I'm still wondering why I'm reading it and talking about it, because it doesn't seem like it's going to deal with anything. You're, again, one of the biggest problems we had with the Star Wars stuff that just ended was because it took place between Empire and Return of the Jedi. So when we ended up having things of a cliffhanger, like, oh my God, I think Lando's going to die. He ain't going to die. He was in Return of the Jedi. And this is like happening in the movie. So when you're doing this, I guess it's the fact like you can't change too much. But when you go, what I thought you would have Kylo do in a smart way, but I don't know that Kylo's that smart. But the idea of to show loyalty and things, but to build a throne.
Well, I'm assuming that, I guess, just thinking about now, there must have been a throne in that third movie.
Maybe. And
I
they
just
want
don't
to
care about.
Why do you want to care? And so in this, when he says, you know, and it kind of is like a lose-lose. He says, I want you to build a throne, but you have to build it that it's like, you know, worthy of me.
Yeah,
I'm not going to tell you
right
what that
the first
is,
time.
but it has to be right the first time. To the idea of them where Huck's like, what does it have to be? 1,000 feet tall. And then you would have Kylo come in and say, I told you that you should know I'm not this. I'm not one for pomp and circumstance. You know what I mean? It's almost like the idea in one of my other favorites, the Indiana Jones. And when you have the Last Crusade, what would be the chalice? What would be, you know, the deal? And it's just a wooden cup because that's what. So I don't know, but I wish it was something more clever. It seems. I just think he's
tying the movie together
throne.
somehow. Yeah,
and even then, he's like, "I want you to do it, get it right the first time," and then you have Hux is like, "Damn you, Kylo!"
Yeah,
and Kylo goes off, and now he's going to talk to that
disgusting mask.
Yeah, wreck mask.
Is Vader's head
Vader.
still inside that?
I hope not. It'd be funny if he like pulls out like a bone or something.
Yeah.
I just think it was the crazy deal, but. So he has that. And now we're going to get just the greatest hits of The Last Jedi. Again, one of my least favorite movies of all time of the, you know, kill the past, forget the past. He yells it a lot. He yells it even when he goes off. And he wants to end these nightmares, all these visions. And he thinks that he has to destroy the past to do that. And he says, I'll start with you. So he's going to go. And again, he's going to go to Mustafar. But in this, he wants to kill the past. So I guess his main plan is to go there and just kill anybody who was around or whatever.
The poor indigenous people he's just murdering.
Instead of just going there and learning maybe more about Vader, maybe he'd be a little better. But he goes and, he just has
like
some
he
fights.
should just go in there and be like, everything that was his is mine now.
Yeah,
like,
you go in and say, all right. Like in the play, have Charles Soule do the classic. All of a sudden he finds the will. And Darth Vader's will says he has to stay at the haunted castle.
Yeah, and then he gets
for a weekend, and then he gets it. And then you could have all hijinks and things like that. Ochi shows up. We could have it all. But he ends up going, and he ends
these
up
little guys.
Like, this play of these guys here. It's just to get action in the book. It's nothing. And so they end up attacking, and they're kind of like got lame weapons and whatever. And Kylo still struggles with them. And when he does get stabbed at one point, where I thought that was supposed to be almost like Luke when he came back in Return of the Jedi and he got his hand shot on the sail barge with Jabba to show that he wasn't quite ready. But I think Kylo's better
a little
than these
prick.
guys.
It's not like it's
you know what I mean?
Like,
yeah, and luckily he got it because he seems to not know how to get into the castle, but he gets in because he's bleeding.
He drips the blood, and then it's so hot that it burns.
No, it burns because he's got hot blood. He's hot-blooded, that guy.
Wouldn't that rain be burning him too then? I mean, how's it raining on Mustafar?
I don't know. What should be burning him is that lit hilt that he has on that sword. I never liked it.
It's a freaking lava planet.
Yeah, it's raining. So he ends up where he's, getting through these guys. The one guy says, die, and he says, you first. And so he ends up going up to the door. I like when he goes up to the door, and then he's like, oh, shit, I didn't plan on, figuring out a puzzle. And then he just bleeds. But he does seem like maybe it doesn't even seem it. It just seems like it drips off him. And then it burns. And then because it's hot. but yet it's raining and none of the things going into. So
it's
he ends
Vader's
up
house. I mean, it's his castle.
So it ends up where the steam of the blood goes, and all of a sudden the door can smell it and opens up. So then he goes in, and you hear a guy.
Yeah, that's
say,
what it was. It was the blood.
And he says, "I offer you a welcome."
Everybody's very nice to him. They want to welcome him, and all that.
Again, he's like, what I think why I hate Kylo is he reminds me of every one of my kids. They're all just nobody's happy. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants more, and he goes in, and this monstrosity comes out. And this is something.
This is worse than anything we've ever seen. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, it's like a big. It looks like
it's like a clockwork thing.
Yeah, it's like a clockwork dog with a ball with a head in it.
And
he's like, "Hey, look at me! I'm May, and I used to be the the guy who took
he had
care
to
of
have been in something. This guy, I don't know where he is.
And he's, hey, I used to help your Darth Vader. Do you have a connection? Yeah, he's my grandfather. All right, well, I'll help you. No, I'm going to kill you because get this, my whole thing is killing the past. And I wish that this like I've heard about you, like you're a real asshole. But he ends up saying, well, don't kill the past because Vader. His big power was the past. And basically what it's saying, and it works for Kylo, I think. Think of all the shit that went down with you and piss you off. It works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just write a list of all the things that piss you off and then go and kill people because you're angry. That's what Vader did. He was always pissed. Obviously, only thinking of those stupid sand people, I'm sure, constantly. But he killed them all. But you end up the women and the children. But he ends up where Kylo
and the younglings. He killed those too.
And again, that's when you're like, Vader, don't think of those because all of a sudden Vader has a big smile on his face, remembering all the good times of killing the young ones. And he's like, oh, that was good times. But yeah, again, then he says, hey, I can tell you how he did it. This is the idea. This is almost like, I wish it was Ochi for some reason. But
yeah, it would have been better.
It is that play of, I'm going to kill you. No, I'm important. Well, why are you important? Well, you like the Vader? I'll tell you stories about him, and I'll tell you how he did this, and I'll tell you. But if you don't do it, you're lost, whatever. And you end up where Kylo says, show me the idea. You need this boy. We both know it. You wouldn't have come here if you didn't. You're lost. And then Kylo needs some inspiration. He says, show me. I think next issue, because it says going to Tatooine, and you do have the cross-section deal. I think he's going to go and he's going to go find out about his great-grandmother and how she was killed by the Sand People and how he ended up killing everybody. Maybe I don't know. But that's what it seems like. And it says in this, Kylo Ren seeks out the home planet of his grandfather, Anakin Skywalker. The young tyrant must go up against Gardula the Hutt and her guards and a Rancor. What secrets to the past blow in the harsh sands of Mos Espa? And again, I think he's just going to find out, oh, Darth Vader was a slave. Anakin, and then he had to leave his and it's just going to end up being just repeats of things. Again, Tatooine's big, right? You don't have to go and deal with another Hutt and a guard and a Rancor. It's just the same stuff.
Well, yeah, but they only deal with one little town on the whole planet.
That's true. The big funny thing from the very get-go was the idea of any planet only has one geographical town. Deal to it. If it's a jungle planet, all right, it's a water planet, it's a sand planet,
it's a
there you go.
Planet, ice planet, Hoth.
I kind of like that. It always made me
forest, moon.
Yeah. It's always
there's no different topographies.
Nope. You can't, and most of the time you can't be like, I'm going to go like where it's not.
It wouldn't work.
Like,
you got to have a balance, or else it doesn't work.
I just love the idea that it's just one. Oh, it's the best.
And they always fly. Whenever they visit these planets, they go to exactly where they need to go. There's never any issue finding anything.
As a kid watching the Star Wars stuff, I actually appreciate it. You didn't have to worry about the Hoth. It's frozen. You didn't have to worry about shit. It's like, oh, it's the best. It was so good. Certain people like Yoda probably didn't enjoy it, but
he was on a swamp planet.
Yeah, he was on a swamp planet. That's it. The whole thing's
no
a
other
swamp.
ecosystem.
Nothing. Just a swamp. It'd be funny. He's like, I walked across this whole damn planet. It's always,
They were like, do you live here? And he's like, no, I just winter here.
Yeah, really. Yeah, he's there. Ay. But yeah, here we are. So yeah, it's weird.
Why would he go live on a swamp planet too? It's disgusting.
Hey, he had to, because
he was eating frogs and stuff.
All the living beings around him hid the force. That's why the guy was running scared. I mean, they didn't show the point where legitimately Yoda was shitting his pants flying there when he was getting chased for that order. He's like, well, screw that.
Yeah,
I'm out. So yeah, I don't know. Is this for people who really like the Last Jedi?
This is for people that are really into the sequels, yes.
I guess it's for... And even then, though, I know a lot of people that still don't like Kylo. So I think it's more just for Kylo fans.
Because all the Darth Vader stuff, where he's battling his feelings, we saw that extensively in Greg Pak.
Yeah, Greg Pak.
So I think he got enough of that. I don't know that you need this.
No. I said to you beforehand, I think that these books that are coming out now like this and the Ewoks and that one shot last, I think they're there to bridge the gap before the new books come out. That's fine, but you could have picked something, I don't know. Like, in my mind, when I started reading this, I really just thought to myself, I am so over Kylo Ren. I don't need anything with Kylo anymore.
Well, you made a good point earlier. Like, if this was a story of Kylo when he was training with Luke or he was hanging out with Leia, and I'd want to read that. That might be interesting.
Yeah, we were
I don't care about this version of him. I want to know what happened to him.
Yeah, like we ended up where in the sequels, you end up, one of my biggest problems with Kylo is we never saw him before he became
like
bad.
Why is he so angry?
They wanted to play the Vader thing with him, but it didn't work for me. I would have rather have seen what happened when he ended up going against Luke, and then continue the movies on to then, because then you'd have a connection to him before everything. But the minute I saw him and everything, it's a whiny bitch. He gets angry, overly angry, kicks things, threatens people and whatnot. So
exactly. What led him to be like that? Because maybe it was more interesting. I don't know.
It was, I mean, that's what they should have dealt with. But oh well, here we are. But what would you give this?
I mean, listen. It's well written. It's the art's pretty good. Like it's if you like this, you'll like it. I just don't. I'll give it a 6.
Yeah, I think I'm a 5.5. But if you're into Kylo, it could be up to a 9. I mean, you might eat this up.
Maybe even better.
Again, though, the problem is it's stuck in between movies. Like I said, it's after the Battle of Crate. It's after Snoke just got killed. So it's not going to end up being able to really do anything. It's filling in a blank of, hey, here's what Kylo ended up doing to try to get closer to Darth Vader.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it is. But I don't think anything can happen in this that would be a eureka moment for me that said, oh my God, that really makes sense now. Because again, I got so disappointed by The Last Jedi. I didn't even watch The Rise of Skywalker. I didn't even bother.
No, I mean, it's
I'll
bad,
watch it eventually, I think. I did actually. I say that. I started and it was the point where like Chewbacca gets taken. I can't even remember. They were on 10th.
Why is Chewbacca even in it? That's my issue. Why are any of them in
this? And they had that ship. I think it was Ochi's ship that they actually found in that deal. So that was, and that's not that far in. That's as far as I got.
The only suggestion I would have for the next issues that would even matter, but would just make him wear the mask.
You don't like.
He's got it on the cover, and then he never wears it. I don't like his face.
It's stupid.
I don't mind Adam Driver. Just he doesn't. He's too much of a character actor or something to pull this off.
The mask is pretty cool.
Like Darth Vader, you never saw his face ever.
Yeah. Until the end, and then
they should have made him
that white guy. Look at that big fat white guy
with the bald head or whatever.
The best was when you saw behind, and you were like, "Holy crap!" And Empire Strikes Back when he was doing his little deal, and that thing,
and it was dropping down on him or pulling off.
That was cool. Mm-hmm. I had a lot of people. I remember me and my friends had a lot of crazy theories. I think my theory was he didn't get a lot of sun with that helmet on. That was my theory.
Like milky white.
I think
color.
I was right. But so I'm 5.5.
Yeah.
We'll see. He's just going to go and wreck house on Tatooine. This is what's going to happen. So maybe he'll find out with the connection with Rey and Tatooine. I don't know.
Those sand people better hide their children and hide their wives because he's coming.
Yeah. You so dumb. That's what they're going to say when he comes in. And the thing is, the minute he puts on that mask, it's so much like it's enough like Darth Vader's deal. They're all going to like the stories that these Sand people must be telling since Anakin went nuts on him must be the crazy. Again, that was more Anakin than Darth Vader, but and I'm telling you,
they were just going out for groceries. They come back home and their entire family's slaughtered.
Dead. Yep, everybody's dead. Then I mean, the idea that we're supposed to feel bad when Luke comes back and ends up with, his aunt and uncle dead. The idea of those Sand people, everybody dead.
Well, the weird thing is that that Boba Fett show on Disney Plus, they totally made the Sand People like redeem them, and they're like great now. Nice people.
Lovely. I'm glad I didn't watch it. Stupid Sand People, dirty Sand People.
Yeah, he hooks up with Boba Fett, shows him how to do everything.
Obi-Wan ended up, he kind of spelled out that they were pretty much, and I trust Obi-Wan.
The old guy?
Saying they were nonsense, so I'm good with that. But that is that. So that's the end of the podcast. This is all we were talking about today and this week. But yeah, we'll be back next week for some other things. And maybe we'll pick up issue 2 to have fun with talking crap on Star Wars. So we'll do that. But that is it. Thanks for joining me, Matt. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.